Welcome to the Eastchester Board of Fire Commissioners June meeting. We're coming back out of executive session. Last month we were unable to broadcast the meeting, so therefore you may have missed it. I was out and Commissioner Napolitano acted as chairman for the meeting, did a particularly good job. We had a host of things we covered, and what we'd like to do is go over those. And also in April there was a series of circumstances where we were unable to conduct the regular meeting, and we had a special meeting that all we did was pay bills.
It was the weather.
It was a weather. In April, our normal April meeting, we had pretty horrible weather. So we had a special meeting on a Saturday morning. We paid $406,000 of bills, had a small executive session to discuss personnel matters and litigation. And then we had the regular May meeting, and I'm going to go through the highlights of the minutes of that meeting because it wasn't televised. And Mr. North, who televises our meetings, has been very good. He's usually at all the meetings and just wasn't able to make that one. And we're very thankful for the Village of Bronxville and their equipment for hosting us on our monthly meetings. So we're very thankful. Last month, we issued a tax anticipation note. John Molazari got that accomplished because we have that short gap between when we receive taxes and when we pay taxes. So the minutes will reflect that we issued a tax anticipation note. We had a board resolution that was fairly significant, and that was where the board discussed hiring a fire district manager. Now, we can't hire a fire district manager, which is a civil service position, until Westchester County allows us to. So last month, the board approved creating a position called fire district manager, which is a civil service position. And just like you have, village managers, this would be a fire district manager, it would be not part of the typical career ranks of the membership. It would be an outside professional who has more human resources background. We've submitted all those paperwork to Westchester County seeking that position for an exempt position for fire district manager. That was one of the more significant things we did last month. We also settled the last payment with Seaver Contracting for the North End Firehouse was paid, and that work is completed, was completed a while ago. They completed their punch list and we paid them for that. The board approved certain work to be done on Tower Ladder 17 for $13,000 because we had to replace the nozzle and an electronic board that controls the nozzle, and we just granted the chief, asked the board to approve it because of the size of the payment was outside our normal practices. So that was our general meeting, and we paid $257,000 in bills. So that's what happened at the May 8th meeting and the April 19th meeting, and that's going to segue into, I need a motion to approve the April 19th minutes, and at that meeting was Winter, Baker, and Mr. Incledon. So
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so
Second.
He won the tie. So it'll be Peter, and then Mr. Baker, and Mr. Napolitano will probably abstain. So Napolitano will abstain. So, Mr. Baker?
Aye.
And Mr. Incledon, aye, and I'll say aye, so we approve those minutes. The May 8th minutes I was not at. Mr. Napolitano took very good minutes and submitted them to the board. And do you want to, we need a motion to approve those minutes. So can I get a motion to approve the May 8th minutes?
Motion to approve the May 8th minutes.
And a second?
Second.
And I'll abstain, so all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, we approve those minutes. Fire activity report for the month of May, Chief Grogan?
Yes, Commissioner. Month of May, we had total alarm activity was 282. Just 5 actual fires included in that, along with the EMS and general activations. Mutual aid was provided 3 occasions, received on 1 occasion. All in all, it actually wasn't overly active month, luckily. But also, over the course of the month, attended numerous hearings with council on personnel matters. I attended a 2-day workers' comp seminar held upstate, cost of which was covered by the insurance carrier. Very informative educational seminar, well worth the trip and the time. Along with Commissioner Incledon, he arranged for site visits and interviews with engineers. Station 2, I'm sure there's a lot more on that later on. Along with Secretary Treasurer, myself also met with the insurance agent in regards to the renewals of workers' comp insurance, which is due, which we have for later on. We also, over the course of month, shop activity consisted of continued minor repairs performed in-house by maintenance, with more specialized work continued to be handled in-house by the outside vendor. We've also scheduled preventive maintenance facilitated by this outside vendor continues. Presently, we have Tower Ladder 17. As you gave me the approval for the monitor, it was also due for the PM, the preventive maintenance. It also had developed a slight leak on the radiator, which, due to our previous mechanic, we actually have one in stock, which will help out. So that went up to the service facility. It'll get the full preventive maintenance. The radiator will be replaced with the radiator that we provided, and the monitor shall be repaired. And while it's there, since actually all the trucks, there's an annual recertification, I felt it was a lot better, it made more sense to have it done with the mechanic available. They're arranging for a third-party ladder testing and recertification while it's there, so that'll all be out of the way. The next PM I plan on doing will be engine 27, but I'm in discussion about having that done. I think they can do that in-house with our facility, so that saves a little bit.
PM standing for preventive maintenance, and the ladder, we have requirements to have them periodically inspected for compliance with weight standards and pumping standards.
Well, it's actually, the ladder's certified, that's an NFPA thing, they get recertified annually, and we've been pretty good at keeping up on that, as well as the pumpers get recertified as well, annual pump testing. That's usually done, again, by a third party, and it's always in the past been done out in the rear of Station 1. But at the same time, we always had a mechanic available in case there was a little minor thing he could tweak, although John always had things pretty in good shape and ready to go. So we'll see, but we will take care of those this year regardless. Where was I, please? Fire prevention. Fire prevention, of course, continues. Numerous site inspections and code enforcement activity. And I think I might have touched last month, it's really picked up around the community. There's a lot of projects that were sitting dormant for a while. They've got their hands full between here in Bronxville, Kensington, Tuckahoe does a major project, Eastchester's trying to push one, and they're working very diligently together with the 3 individual building departments, our 1 department. So Tommy and Larry will be quite busy this year. On top of that, they also did participate in the Eastchester Police Department's annual Safety Day, once again with the smoke trailer, which is always a big hit, as well as the guys on duty that day. Eastchester Police arranged for a extrication show and tell, so everything went well there as usual. Well, I should say as usual. They put a lot into it, so it does come off quite well. We also participated 3 days of joint task force training. Of course, in the beginning of the month, the end of April, beginning of May, we did our own training days, the individual groups doing the same. Along with that, we participated in joint task force training at the County Training Center. That was funded with state grant money. It was in conjunction with all our neighboring departments that are part of the squad setup and weapons of mass destruction. And I've completed all the required paperwork and submission for the reimbursement. They just require a lot of documents, but we will be seeing close to $18,000 deposited back into our account within a week or 2. So, it's really a great benefit, I say, for the members. The simple fact that they're working hand in hand with neighboring departments that more and more often we work together with. And the fact that the county was able to use state grant money to fund it was just a plus. So, most importantly, the month of May, of course, everybody, Memorial Day, we actually have a lot going on in May. I do regularly, just because I live in Tuckahoe, attend the Tuckahoe Police Memorial, which coincides with Police Memorial Week. They do a nice service. The department also had their annual memorial service that people like Anthony Laurie and Tommy Vichy are instrumental in keeping it going. Very nice service at Immaculate Conception, and I appreciate their efforts in keeping that going so that we don't forget those that we've lost in the past year, and as well as everybody. Of course, the main reason for the month, Memorial Day, here in Villages of Bronxville, it was a pleasure to march with volunteer members, Volunteer Deputy Chief Bob Medina and numerous members. We marched and participated in their ceremonies in the morning. I thank them for their participation. I will say, I'm a little disappointed. I did again, the Eastchester Tuckahoe Parade was in the evening, and of course, put the uniform on. I will say, I'm disappointed that 2 years in a row I marched alone. I show my appreciation for Chief Bonsi and the police department allowing me to walk within their ranks rather than just out in the crowd. I just think it's something we should keep in mind. I hear so many people talk about inconvenience, and I'm sorry, I just think 2 hours out of a year is not that inconvenient to remember people that have given everything for us to have what we have. But I do in the events, and it did just culminate a very busy month in all. I'll end with a comment that I made last month with no camera. Summertime barbecue season, this is all for the time when people go get their propane tanks filled. Please, if it's part of other trips, make it the last on your schedule. Bring it right home. Do not leave it in the trunk. Do not lay it down, because the relief valve will not work if it lays down. When you get it home, full tank, store it in the shade. We often get calls of propane tanks leaking, and really all it is the gas expanding in the sun and the relief valve working properly. We have had cases where somebody went on other errands, laying down in the trunk, and the tank actually split, which could have been catastrophic. Please, fill your tanks, get them home, put them in the shade, and enjoy the summer season. That's all, sir.
Thank you, Chief. Next, we have John Malzari, Secretary-Treasurer, with our Treasurer's report for the month.
Good evening. For the month of May, am I loud? For the month of May, the district currently has a budget surplus of $261,000. That's made up of the revenue component, which is short $32,000, and we are under budget on the expense side by $293,000. Two lines make up $271,000 of that expense being under, and that is holiday pay and longevity pay. The holiday club pay will be paid, the first 5 days will be paid this month, so that'll kind of bring us back in. So overall, we're very tight on the budget. We're within $100,000. On the revenue side, we did receive our tax payment of $16,605,787 on May 12th, and that represents 100% of our taxes. On the expense side, I just mentioned it up above. Other matters on the agenda is the audit for 2013. It's complete. We have a draft copy in front of the commissioners. We only received it this week, so we're still reviewing it. The tax anticipation note, the Chairman talked about earlier in the meeting for $750,000 was repaid on time on May 20th. The cost to do that, the interest cost to do that was $761 for 33 days. There was also a legal cost to that of about $1,700. So overall, it's about $2,500 to do that TAN.
John, I received a document today in the mail, an email to me from our law firm, actually. And the SEC, it doesn't affect us because we don't issue notes, but the SEC is now going to target municipalities and school districts, according to this law firm article, over full disclosure of the risk in the documents. They have a task force just going to be doing that.
Well, it doesn't affect us, you said.
It doesn't affect us.
Oh.
We don't issue notes.
That's the Treasurer's report for May. There are a few other items. Do you want me to go through some of those? that I
Yeah, we have a few items to go through. We have a budget line, some budget line item transfers we need to do, and I think I have a resolution here to reflect that based on your document you submitted. So, gentlemen, if we can listen for a second on this. I think we need a resolution to transfer $25,000 from budget line 3417, spot 17, mechanic salary, to budget line 3210, spot 3, vehicle maintenance, and that's because we don't have a mechanic, but we do have some outside service doing the maintenance, so we're moving that $25,000. And the second transfer is from budget line 9010, spot 8, New York State retirement, to 3040, spot 3, buildings and repair and maintenance, for $150,000 to fund the recent generator purchase and installation in the 3 firehouses. So I take it we have a surplus in that line, and we're moving it over to fund the...
The New York State in March starts putting out projections what your retirement contribution is going to be, and it gives us some wiggle room. Right? It'll be updated again in August, the final one, so we could change the other way, but right now we look okay.
Right, and I think the auditors wanted us to move money more aggressively as we go along, rather than wait for part of their...
You mean for the budget transfers?
Yeah, budget transfers.
You got to fund the line. You really shouldn't, you know.
Okay, so can I have a motion to that effect from, anybody like to make a motion on that?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, so, and a second?
Second.
And so I'll poll the board. Mr. Baker?
Aye.
Mr. Napolitano?
Aye.
Mr. Dinkeldon?
Aye.
And I'll say aye, so we'll approve that budget transfer. Okay, the other memo we had here, John, while you're here, is we had a memo from the chief regarding a firefighter who has left the service of the fire district, and that is firefighter Kevin Stewart has resigned from the fire district, and the chief has calculated what the pay should be for firefighter Stewart, and I would offer this resolution. The resolution to approve payment to former firefighter Kevin Stewart as detailed in the memo from Chief Grogan dated June 10th, 2014, where the fire district will pay Mr. Stewart holiday pay of $2,064.38 and a health care opt-out of $2,500 for a total of $4,564.68. And I believe that was, Chief, that was your memo here, right?
Yes, that sounds about right.
With the supporting documents.
Basically, on what, looking at the record, and I thought it was appropriate that he get the whole opt-out.
Okay, so do I have don't want to make a motion to
I'll make the motion.
accept that? So that's Mr. Baker. And a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I'll poll the board. I'll start from the other side this time. Mr. Inclinton?
Aye.
Mr. Napolitano?
Aye.
Mr. Baker?
Aye.
And I'll say aye, so we'll pass that. So, John, you're okay to pay Mr. Stewart. And we wish Mr. Stewart well in his future endeavors. That's Kevin, not Sean.
Kevin.
And we wish Sean well too, but. Next on our list of items, we mentioned we paid back the TAN, so that money went back. You submitted the bills. The bank reconciliation's been submitted. The budget transfer, workman's comp renewal. This is a rather significant item. We have a workman's comp renewal, which comes due July 1, I believe.
July 1.
And PERMA, who is our current workman's comp carrier. PERMA stands for, where do I find that? It stands for the Public Employees Risk Management Association. Our cost for workman's comp this year is 10% higher roughly than it was last year. And one of the reasons, I think, is our workman's comp, you basically self-insure. What they do is they calculate how much money you spend on all your medical files, and they figure out how to rebill you for it in the trailer. So it's almost like a self-insurance, the way they calculate your experience. We have a lot of members who tend to spend a lot of time having workman's comp claims that go on for a prolonged period of time. And when I say a lot, there's a handful. And it's very time-consuming on the department, very time-consuming on PERMA. Workman's comp is carved into law. That is, it's very structured, so there's very little wiggle room for the department, other than to make sure the carrier's doing what they're supposed to be doing to protect ourselves. And the result is we just have to do that, or otherwise you end up with a permanent 207A2 claim if it's not handled correctly in many cases. So PERMA's come back with a quote of $445,449, and that's for a one-year policy, and that would be extending the current policy. And as I said, they're working a number of cases right now that have been ongoing, some in the neighborhood of a year or more. So I'd like to read a resolution and look for, John, am I pretty much on target here or some?
Yep.
A couple of points. Actually, I think a lot of it's up because compensation insurance is based on total compensation.
And total compensation.
So because
that's right.
compensation is up, we've gone, we actually got a reduced experience level, but it's from, the experience level is based on previous years, so it could go up next year, but it's just certain items have gone up. There's state assessments there that there is no avoiding, no matter where you go. But the biggest thing, along with their slight increase, is the fact that it's based on the total compensation paid out.
Right, and we are currently, our increase is 4% due to salaries. The 10%, so 6% is other. It's a percentage of your salary. So if you were to pay somebody more, you pay a larger slice of workman's comp. If you run your typical business, your typical office business, you very rarely have a workman's comp experience. In the civil service or in this line of work, workman's comp is a day-to-day occurrence. Probably a week or 2 weeks doesn't go by where someone is not filing a claim. It has to be once every 2 weeks. There's some sort of claim being submitted. It's just the way the world is. So, so here's the resolution. Resolution to approve the proposal offered by Arthur J. Gallagher Risk Management Services, who's our broker, to renew the workman's comp insurance with Public Employees Risk Management Association for $445,449 to be paid in 4 installments of $111,390 effective July 1, 2014. Those 4 installments cost us $6 more for some reason or other. But, so I'd look for a motion or a discussion on the insurance renewal.
Not much to say. I mean, it's always increasing, and it's something we have to pay. Be done with it.
Right.
There's also not a lot of players in that area to offer workers' comp to fire districts. It's 3 current people.
And there's not many people who even give workman's comp to fire districts.
Yeah.
So it's not very competitive.
No.
So can I have a motion to this effect?
Motion to renew the...
Yeah, insurance.
Insurance, workman's comp insurance,
Yeah, as I just read it.
as
No, just,
Commissioner Baker read out to public.
I just read it in public.
You're right. I didn't read
I know, I just read this in public. Do you want to, somebody want to make a motion to accept
Make
it?
the motion.
Accept it.
Okay, and who's seconding it?
I'll second it.
Okay. Mr. Inkledon?
Aye.
Mr. Baker?
Aye.
Mr. Napolitano?
Aye.
And I'll say aye.
9:06 PM.
We should look into seeing though if we can do better, but like we've all discussed, that there aren't a lot of opportunities.
Right, we go out every 3 years for competitive bid.
To see how that
The problem is, these cases last multiple years. Like right now, they're involved in a couple cases that have been going on for multiple years, and they're still defending those cases. So, and they work closely with the law firm, and it's more complicated than you would know because you're in this,
I know, but I just want to make sure that people at home understand that we're not just,
right, we're not just...
Well, it's important to note that Arthur Gallagher, or, you know, our agent, does shop around some, but it's not the type of thing you do every year. We had 3 other proposals last time around. He'll probably do it again next year, just to make sure they're staying, you know, keep them in check and say, look, we're going to check with the state or another provider. So people should know we do shop this.
Right, and
We
we're
do
using,
get
and we're using a
quotes.
nationally recognized broker, we're not using a local broker, which was...
And John's right,
an
there's
issue many
really
years ago.
not a lot of people want to do fire departments. It's almost like construction, you know, there's certain fields that are prone
we
to
all agree. I
injuries.
just wanted the record to reflect that for the people at home, you know, the taxpayers. They just don't think that we're just
Yeah, exactly.
We do shop around.
same old, same old.
So, John, for I guess the final object of why we're here is the budget. We have the draft. I've looked through the draft, and I guess we'll, hopefully, they'll
The
come back
audit.
with a final copy. The audit of the draft of the 2013 audit, we now have a copy of. We got the management letter, looked very good. They cited us for one thing in the management letter, which we believe we've already corrected, or had corrected prior to them citing us in the management letter, which is a much shorter management letter than we've ever had in the past.
What was the last management letter we had?
Multiple pages, fine print. This one is, the last being the last auditor. I should mention, we changed auditing firms this year, so John's working with a brand-new auditing firm, a brand-new set of eyes, and they're looking at John's work from last year, which, and what they cited us on was a lease that went back for multiple years that was in place before John took over, and the law firm has already written that vendor a pretty strongly worded letter about that lease. Right?
Well, yeah, you know, the board at some point will have to adopt or accept the audit.
Right.
So you've only just received it, so.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, John. Next item up is Tom Andres, who's going to give us news about the fire district election, which has been an equally busy month, or 3 months, working on politics to get this accomplished, and Tom can explain.
Use the term, yes. Thank you. Good evening. Tom Andrus, Shady Lane in Eastchester. Been working on consolidating the fire commissioner election with the general election. Might be worth just a quick review since we haven't talked about this for a while. Last year, there was a law presented, it was accepted by both houses of the legislature and signed by the governor, that basically changed the date of the fire election from December to November, but it didn't consolidate the election. So Chairman Winter and I met with the Board of Election Commissioners, Colte and Lafayette, on February 12th of this year. And we explained to them what we wanted, what the consolidation meant. We reviewed the law with them. And we left, I think, that meeting thinking that they were pretty amenable to this. Well, I went back for a follow-up meeting on March 18th, and it was a different story, that they refused to go along with this. and wanted changes to be made. So since then, I've been working with the legislators, primarily with Senator Latimer, but also with Amy Paulin's office, to try to get the bill amended to satisfy the Board of Election Commissioners. And that's been done. And both bills, the Senate bill and the Assembly bill, were introduced in May of this year. And I just found out today, contacting the Assembly office in Albany, that the bill was moved out of committee today. The two bills are the same, but they have to go through both houses. It has to go through both houses. But it moved out of the committee today, which is a good thing. That's a step. And they're looking to vote on it next week. So hopefully that'll pass. And if it passes without any changes, as it stands now, and it's been reviewed by by everybody, not almost everybody, everyone. And the end of the session this year is on June 19th. So it has to be passed by then, by both houses. And then eventually after that, the governor has to sign it, but that's not by June 19th. That can be later on. And if that happens, if it's not changed, this year, 2014, there'll still be separate elections as it has been in the past. But but next year, because the law is effective January 1st, 2015, next year the election would be consolidated, not only the date, but the ballot and everything, the whole works, which is what, we've been seeking. So that's kind of where we are, and I would say it's a good news right now. Things do change, but...
It's been a very arduous process and Tom has been extremely diligent. I see Mary Smith back there, who's been very good at pushing this forward with Tom. We did, I think, a phenomenal job to get a new bill drafted and onto the Senate floor and the Assembly floor in a matter of months, because we started in February saying to the Board of Elections, Westchester County Board of Elections, how can we do this? They gave us the encouragement they can do it, and then they flipped the switch and said, no, they can't, and the law that was passed last time said we needed the blessing of both commissioners. Well, both commissioners weren't about to give it the blessing. So we had to go and get the law changed to take it slightly out of their hands and back to the people who will get this done. And Senator Latimer's office, was very, very strong on it. Amy Pauling's office was very helpful on it. And between the two, this bill was created, done, delivered in a matter of 6 weeks, thanks to Tom's efforts and Mary's efforts in the background, pushing this through, and the board doing some backdoor lobbying to get this moving along. I drafted a letter to the governor and to most every official in Westchester I could have on a CC list, telling him to get it moving. So it's moving. We did learn that the Board of Elections is a unique place. Basically, the Board of Elections, to be a commissioner of the Board of Elections, you're basically the head of the Democratic Party or you're the head of the Republican Party. If you become the head of one of the respective parties in Westchester, you basically automatically get the $150,000 a year to be the commissioner. The Republican commissioner has his own administrative staff. The Democratic commissioner has their own administrative staff. And we learned this and had to go through the ranks with the Board of Election. I think Tom was diligent and Mary was diligent, and I think we were diligent pushing them forward. And I think Senator Latimer and Amy Pauling recognized the political bind we were being put in, having told the public we want to move the election to November, and having the law say, nope, you can't, because there's this little widget in there that says you need their blessing. So this year will probably be a December election. Next year, hopefully, will be a November election, and we'll have all these little legal nuances resolved, and we'll know that probably in the next 60 days. And we got to thank Tom for his efforts for getting this moving forward, and Mary. So
I have to say that the staff, particularly Senator Latimer's staff, has been great, and so is Assemblywoman Paulin's staff. I mean, they do the work, and they've been very good, very helpful to us.
Right, and they would be extremely responsive. I saw the emails going back and forth, and they got it done, and I was, it's excellent. Government work, the legislative part of the government worked, as Mary Smith she'll tell us, there's four branches of government, as we learned, right? There's that fourth branch called the Board of Elections. So we're all good. So thank you, Tom.
Yes, thanks, Tom, for your efforts on this.
Welcome.
So, I'm going to have a motion, just so we can thank Amy Pauling, and they understand that the board is fully behind this effort. The Board of Eastchester Fire Commissioners fully endorses Senate Bill S-7402, introduced by Senator George S. Latimer, and Assembly Bill A-09819, introduced by Amy Pauling, related to amending provisions of election law instead of a town law for elections. The board greatly appreciates all the efforts of both legislators and their respective staffs for doing so in a very timely manner. Would somebody like to approve that? Oh, first thing,
I'll make that motion, however you want to code it.
Stephen Baker, and the second?
I'll second it.
And the reason we're doing this is so they fully understand the board is completely behind their efforts. It's not a one commissioner or two, it's a board effort, a community effort. So, Mr. Ingledon?
Aye.
Mr. Baker?
Aye.
Mr. Napolitano? Aye. And I'll say aye. Okay, moving on. We have committee reports.
I see our committee's up first. We were supposed to meet with the representatives of the union was it Monday or Tuesday?
Monday, and then went to
Monday,
Wednesday.
right. Monday was good for everybody, and then I had an emergency in my office that I had to go early to. Wednesday, we made tentative plans, and then that turned out to be not good for the union reps. So we are now scheduled to meet Monday morning, correct?
The 16th,
The 16th at 8:30. So that's all we have to report on that one. And the second committee, I'm the only member of the committee here. I'd like to apologize to the volunteers. I made every intent to be at the volunteer memorial like I was last year, and I got up that morning, went down in my basement to get a clean t-shirt to wear under my suit, and I found out that my hot water heater went that day. So I spent, rather than going to the memorial, I spent the day watching a plumber run the meter, and I realized I was in the wrong profession. I should have been a plumber working on a Sunday. So I apologize to the volunteers. I had a great time last year, and I called up and sent emails out, but I don't know that it got to everybody. So mea culpa, and I'll be there next year.
Okay. Budget and House, that's Jerry?
I'll actually defer that to Peter, because he did a substantial amount of work of lining up two contractors for a proposal for repairing the ramp at the Tuckahoe Firehouse.
Sure. So we mentioned in the last meeting that one of the projects we wanted to pursue this year was repairing both the floor, the ramp, the curbing, and some drainage issues at the Tuckahoe House, Station 2. We also, in addition to repairing those, we asked them to figure out if it was possible in the new design to actually lower the floor of that house by anywhere from 6 to 12 inches to accommodate what is now a standard-sized ladder truck. So that is also part of the scope of the work. Clearly, since the building was built, I believe it was 1928, ladder trucks have evolved, and the building is still the same. So the weight and the size of those vehicles are significantly heavier and larger than they were then, and so we need greater clearance if we can get it in that house. We did engage two engineering firms, AMM and DMB. Both have been in the business for over 10 years. They're structural engineers. They're highly qualified to do this kind of work. They've done it before. They came and did site inspections and returned proposals, both of them this week. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough time. We disseminated them, but to fully go through. But that is something that we're going to do between now and the next meeting and make a decision. As far as what our options are going to be based on these proposals, one is going to be to perform the comprehensive work that we kind of asked them to evaluate, which is both the floor inside the house, the ramp, and the drainage issues. Of all those issues, probably the most pressing is just the ramp. Anybody who lives in that area and has seen the ramp or apron, it would be called, in front of the firehouse, knows that that is in considerable disrepair. In fact, it looks like it's just a pulverized piece of concrete at this point. So we are, contemplating whether or not we want to do a comprehensive repair to that building, a 100-year repair, if you will, on that floor. Or there's also been some consideration and discussion amongst the board on whether or not it may make sense at some point in the near future to consolidate that house with another in the district. And if that is something that we think we may ultimately want to do, doing the comprehensive repair might not be appropriate. In fact, it wouldn't be. So, but that is what's kind of under discussion now, and we're hoping to make a decision before the next meeting, or at the next meeting, and get whatever work we decide to do completed in 2014.
Thank you, Peter. Yeah, because the older buildings have their own challenges and expenses, and we have to rationalize the expenses of these buildings and the footprint we have, and it's, more firehouses, more equipment, more money. The next, there we go. Next is budget and finance. I'm going to defer to Mr. Napolitano here, because we were both at a meeting at the county at different times, and I think Jerry can explain it better than I can, because he probably took better notes.
Yes. So I don't know if anyone's aware, but Como passed a law called signed. It's called the Implementation of the Tax Property Freeze, also called government efficiency. The goal of that law is to have a 1% cost savings for every government jurisdiction, with the basis being your 2014 budget. So what they're looking for municipalities to do is take a snapshot of their 2014 budget, and every year preceding that, 15, 16, always taking a snapshot of that 2014 budget, show a 1% decrease in expenses. The main spirit of the law, is the way I read it, is that they're looking for jurisdictions to do shared services agreement to overcome that. So the spirit is to partner with your adjacent government entities, like in our case it could be the town, right? And look at ways that we can efficiently save each other money. So for example, this might actually be good for something like the Eastchester Fire District, because if you think about areas of managing personnel like HR, right? We don't really have a need to have a full-time HR person based on our size and our need. But if you take those services and combine them, say at the town level, the town can charge us back for the amount of time that their resource would be spending on our HR personnel, and at the same time we would have that cost savings, and they would have a revenue which would also be part of their 1% efficiency plan. And this has to be mandated. This has to come forward. If not, property tax areas won't get their rebate that they're proposing that this will give them. The law is very convoluted. It's very complicated. The main part of it is that every jurisdiction needs to put a plan in place. Once that plan is in place, it'll get approved, and then it's a goal to implement it. But it's not a goal to be successful. So that's the caveat that's going on here. And even school districts are going to have to invest time in this 1% efficiency plan. There's a substantial amount of documents out there. Probably one of the most comprehensive one out there is by the New York State Association of Counties. They have a view on this. And then also on the state website, there's a draft. They're calling it draft because it's really haven't really identified how to recover this 1%, property tax freeze credit example that they would give to homeowners. And basically, it's going to have the same requirement that the STAR education program has. So that 500K total income in your house, as well as only having the credit on your primary residence. So spirit of it is to promote, right, efficiency across adjacent or neighboring government entities or towns or villages. That then forces the citizens to push this forward because they're not going to get tax credits unless the jurisdiction comes through with their 1% efficiency plan. So it's kind of very complicated. I'm probably not giving it very good justice. I would recommend that you go to the state website. The New York State Association of Counties probably has the best summary that I saw if you go there and read it. But I think the spirit of it is good. I think it's going to be something very difficult to implement and actually something very difficult to prove that you have that 1% efficiency savings. So, any questions?
That's why I let Jerry explain it, because the idea is every municipality has to submit to the New York State Budget Director of Finance by June of 2015 this plan, and in lieu of submitting it directly to the Director of Finance for New York State, you can join a consortium, like we could join the Village of Bronxville and the Village of Tuckahoe, and the three of us could submit a plan. So municipalities are going to start teaming up with each other to submit their plan. The county is doing what I call a land grab, trying to get everybody to team up with them to submit the plan. What you're not going to get a check in the mail that says, okay, here's a savings to you. You're going to get a voucher that you can apply against your New York State taxes. So it'll be equivalent of a check. It'll be a voucher you can apply against your New York State personal taxes. So it's convoluted, but its goal is municipal budgets, whether it's us, the village, the town, school district, is going to be under a gun not to spend any additional monies than they already have and try to reduce their budgets from where they are today. That's the bottom line. So it'll...
Good point. So that voucher that Dennis is talking about will then be managed at the state. So this all has to roll up by every different jurisdiction or government entity. If you think about it, if you look at your tax statement, say I'm an Eastchester resident, so I look at my tax statement and I'm going to have water tax, sewer, that's got to roll up at 1%. I got the fire district, I got the town, right? Each one of those entities need to come up with their own 1% savings plan. And then once they check the box, that then triggers your tax credit. That then has to be collected, will be approved by the state and then flow down to the citizens or taxpayers. So I mean, this is good stuff. I mean, if you give an example of how some of this is going on already, there's some county services, particularly the fire district, that we take advantage. So for example, years ago, fire would be dispatched out of headquarters on Main Street, and we would have a separate dispatcher there that would take in the calls and dispatch the fire engines. Over time, that rolled up into the county. Now we have a county-wide dispatch center. So now, you know, there might be 4 or 5 dispatchers for the entire county that then leverage dispatching fire trucks, ambulances, and that is an example of what the state is looking for, that level of efficiency. There's other types of services as well. So when I was there, we pressured the county to come up with more of those services, particularly if you think about maybe a consolidated health care that the county could drive, that then different towns and villages could sign up for, or other ways that we can have like consolidated HR services at the county level, or IT services at the county level that we could then leverage, which then would reduce our workforce, reduce our cost, and come up with that 1% savings over the 3-year period that they identified.
If you look at what we're doing in like shared services, right now, we don't have an IT department. We use Google as our IT. We have Google Government Services as our IT. So we pay a few $1,000s a year, and all our
Actually $1,040. We just paid
$1,040 a year, and all our computer servers, all our file sharing, all our email addresses, everything, is really a shared service using Google Cloud. You know, 10 years ago, you would have hired a programmer, a technician, you would have bought a whole bunch of hardware. We're not doing that. So I think we are doing as many as we can. It's going to be, well, we'll see how this works out, but it's going to be a challenge for every municipality. And some of them are logical, like if you take the police departments in this town, there's 3 separate dispatchers. This law is designed to put those 3 together. And they all go on one frequency, and then you'd only have one dispatcher.
I'm hoping that this pressures the villages and the town that we help support to have us all play better in the sandbox, and, you know, maybe look at ways that we can consolidate these types of common services that we all have that are, you know, right in town. You know, how far away is fire headquarters versus the Eastchester Town City Hall? It's, you know, and if we can help support each other by them getting revenue, us paying them back, it's good for everybody.
So we'll have more on that. Next is communications. Jerry?
Nothing on...
I don't have anything.
No, I'm not communications.
Okay, I'm communications. The only thing I will mention about communications, we got a communications today. A lawsuit that was filed against myself, Commissioner Napolitano, Baker, the fire district, the board, has been dismissed voluntarily from our former Secretary Treasurer. So that was in federal court.
That was today.
That was today. So that was good. Next is grant. Do we have anything on grants? Nothing?
Ralph, do you have any update on the archive grant or anything? You hear anything?
No, we haven't received any reply.
Yeah, so Ralph reached out to do an archive grant for some of our old documentation. We haven't heard anything back yet.
Okay. Health and wellness?
Health and wellness, I was actually approached just Tuesday by firefighter Wiegelman. So he's going to be reaching out to me to start scheduling, as they want, I guess, a quarterly health and safety and wellness meeting. So
Okay.
we're going to have that, I guess, moving forward as soon as I get some information from firefighter Wiegelman.
And
He originally contacted me, but I told him I was on that committee last year, so I'm glad he reached out to you.
where are you going?
Technology?
Technology.
Technology, we just renewed our Google government contract, and $1,040 for an entire email and archiving of our files, which is very cost savings in my mind if you look at some of these IT costs. The other thing is that we're looking into consolidating some of our PBX cost, as well as some of our tie lines that are between fire headquarters and 60 control for our dispatching. So hopefully we'll be able to have some cost savings there in the next couple of months. Maybe that could automatically start hitting our 1% efficiency by decreasing our telco and PBX costs. So that's kind of a goal that I've kind of given myself for this year, to try to decrease our telco cost.
Okay, tonight's board topics, we've discussed some of them already. We've discussed the tax legislation. The firefighter mechanic, we've hit an impasse somewhat with the union on the firefighter mechanic. It's going to take some going back and forth about hiring them. What I would like the board to do is authorize myself as chairman and maybe one other commissioner to sit down with the union, offer up to $40,000 increment for, we believe we have an employee who's an experienced mechanic who would like to work part-time outside his role as a fireman to be a firefighter mechanic. Would save us health care, obviously. And so I would ask the board, just as they authorized myself and another commissioner, to have a conversation with the union and the firefighter using a number of $40,000, which I think will be the right number, to have that position filled. We've been sending our vehicles out, and hopefully we can come back and come with an agreement of some sort. And the chief as well, obviously, would be in this discussion.
Yes, and actually, I know we've been throwing stuff back and forth. there were issues, we're not sure what, but I do also have a contact, I was speaking up at the state because we want to make sure that he gets credited properly.
Correct.
I do have to put in another call to the legal department of the pension, because I had thrown that idea out of, like, just, the straight time for additional hours, but with a cap. The concern is that he gets properly credited within the system for the salary. In other words, you can't just, well, here's this amount, come in a few days a week. It won't count properly. And that wouldn't be fair to the firefighter.
Right, well, that's what I'm just saying, we're going to,
It won't count properly on his pension.
Right, it wouldn't be, it's not something that would be, credited to his service.
service time.
Right, it just wouldn't count in the end, and I've had discussions back and forth, I'm sure you have, but I've been talking with the state, a neighboring department, Hartsdale, for instance, has a similar setup. It's a firefighter, and we're not talking at this point, full-time mechanic doing everything that our past mechanic might have done, but just having somebody there with the skill to do the general everyday stuff, simple service PMs and repairs, and if there is something more elaborate, he can at least coordinate it. Because I'll tell you, it's that in itself is very time-consuming, just monitoring and going over things. I was out there a couple of hours today, just,
I agree. I mean, I think the emergency vehicles are critical, right? As much as we can outsource some of those services and maybe think we're saving money, in some cases we might lose because we always have to have some sense of ownership over our repairs, right?
I
And
tell you,
think
there's
we need
one.
someone local
It's
to.
working out well, but and I'll be perfectly honest, there have been some cases where we have this vendor who's been great, traveling, you got travel time, he's got his road service cost, and we run into things that if we had somebody with the mechanical skills that this firefighter has, we would have avoided that because he would have identified the problem. It might turn out to be as simple as a broken wire. But not knowing the apparatus, and fire trucks are very much more complicated than a car. And how they run these wires, they're custom made, that in itself can be a nightmare. But when it's all said and done, oh geez, I had to call you for that? But it's just next to impossible. So that in itself would be a big help. And I say in the long term, the savings would be realized.
So we're eager to sit down and resolve this. is all
Very
I'm-
much so.
I'm-
We have been
what I'm-
for a
what
long
I'm getting
time.
to.
You and I.
I make that motion.
Okay, Mr. Baker,
I'll second it.
all in favor with this idea?
Aye.
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 Okay. Now, that was, where's I back on my list? Okay. Retirement health care premium recovery, we're still working on that. Letters went out, and we're pursuing it. And we're going to just do more math on it and send more letters when eventually we'll be filing lawsuits, which we really don't want to have to do. So people who were on the receiving end of those letters, hopefully they responded. If they haven't, more than likely there will be lawsuits moving. We have a duty to pursue them. Overtime planning for 2014. The board, we want to make it clear, the board has set a limit on overtime budget for overtime. We're asking the chief to monitor that and to keep us under that, so he may have to do things from time to time, but that will be, he's doing it on the directive of the board, and that's the way it is. We set a target, and we want to live within that target. And, it's better to manage when he can than forced to be managed, so we're setting that goal. We discussed the fire district manager position, we discussed the ramp in Tuckahoe. Jerry, you want to discuss the idea of verification for employees?
Yeah, so I mean, in this age of healthcare awareness, right? I noticed that we have to do a little bit more due diligence as commissioners to verify dependent care. I mean, some people have been hired into the district and some things haven't been verified. I know a lot of employers are going around in the public sector doing that right now. They're hiring third-party firms to verify pretty private information, to verify, are those your kids? Are they not your kids? Are they your foster kids? Are they your adopted kids? because that's very important when it comes to our insurance premiums every year, right? We really only want to pay for who that legal guardian is of those dependents, and not anyone else. So we discussed in executive session that we're going to move forward with a formal process to verify all dependents that we support under our health care right now.
So most of the membership has been contacted, and many have responded back, but we're going to follow up if we have to.
So one thing that's important here is that as employees, if they fail to communicate their dependent information, we have the right to revoke their health insurance. So if they don't report it, we can revoke their health insurance.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that difficult for people just to supply the birth certificates, marriage certificates, adoption certificates, whatever the case may be. It's just normal, in many, this is normal practice for most everyone to have to do in most government entities, and so for some people, it's a learning curve that they have to do that now. That's all. So.
All the documents we've been requesting we're actually required by NISHIP
To have. Right,
We
yeah.
did not pick these items out of the hat.
Yeah, Mike is saying is that the documents that we've been requesting from the members, or our insurance carrier mandates that we have those documents on hand. So we're not inventing the documents we're asking for. You know, we're not making up the list. We're complying with the NISHIP regulations. The next item on my list is installing security cameras in the exterior and the shop in Station 1. I would hope by next month's meeting we have some formal proposal. Maybe the Assistant Chief can work with this. These are, you know, hopefully color motion detector cameras with night vision on them. I mean, I'm pretty familiar with the systems because I put them in twice in 2 homes. They work extremely well. They're easy to install. We're going to have a professional install them. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to put them in. And they're generally not, we don't want wireless, we want hardwired, in my view. And we need to get that done for Station 1 and the shop. So hopefully we can move that forward. Anybody disagree with that, or? Nope, it's a,
I think,
well, we can, exterior,
Exterior and entry points.
yeah.
I think part of the problem, we got a little too carried away. I mean, I was looking at simple $1,000 setup just to see, but then it became a monster, and it just got unrealistic.
I never took off.
No, if for your basic, I can tell you what it's going to cost you. For your basic, like 5-camera system, it's going to cost you about $3,000. If you, for an industrial grade quality system, it's going to cost you about $3,000 for about 6 cameras. And that's not installed, that's just the equipment.
What's the ongoing expense to have it monitored? Are
None.
we recording this ourselves, or we
No,
have?
it goes to a DVR.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost anything. The only thing it costs you already have an internet connection. So after you have your internet connection, it costs nothing. I mean, I have a summer home where I have a system put in, and you just look at your iPad whenever you want to look at it, and you got the whole place. In Bronxville House, the exact same thing. I look at the iPad, and I got the whole perimeter. Boom. No, it's going to have a DVR, and it records to itself.
Ralph, it's no different than we talked about already.
Yeah,
Same,
yeah.
none of the requirements have changed.
Yeah, it's just you know, perimeter cameras in the shop, a DVR, records to itself, and the system will broadcast. You hook it up to your internet and it broadcasts. So I think that's good to have. I mean, it would be handy to have. I mean, it's just handy for the captains even. You know, you take a look at their tough book and they can see what the rig's in the shop or it's not in the shop or who's out front. It's not, I mean, if you look at EVAC, walking around EVAC has the cameras all around it, professionally installed. Boom, they got the cameras there. This building, I'm sure, has the cameras there. The school has. It's just normal practice now for government entities to have a security system. So I think we need to put it in. And the fall class for CPAT, do we have any desire to send members to a fall class for CPAT or look to increase that? We're going to be down 3 members by...
At this point, we need to request a canvas list. Are we interested in bringing on a few new people if there's a full class. The CPAT, I mean, some of the people on our list are already certified. There's, if there were some that deferred the last time around, they would have another opportunity, like this summer. This way, we have the list to work with. They're talking, I think they're gonna have another full class. The reason being, you know, the 4 guys, we have 4 recruits that will be graduating the end of this month. They'll be brought on board, beginning of July, which will help significantly. At the same time, we've been hit with a few unexpected open spots. A recent resignation we had no idea about. We do have a captain that is retiring by the end of July, which we sort of, well, that we were aware of.
But with
We
that
also
captain
have-
retiring, we're down 3, right? We're roughly going to be down 3 slots by the end of July.
Yes, yes. You know, right now, we already have 3 open spots. You know, and that's, you know, we have a long-term sick that I don't see coming, and there is still a letter of intent for the end of the year, which that's really...
Is there any harm in calling the list? We don't have to make a
No,
decision
we
tonight.
can, we request a canvas list. If we choose not to act, we just send it, but we sign and send back, say, sorry, we chose not to hire. No, the canvas list, there's no obligation whatsoever.
Okay, do you want to go?
We need to get the canvas list, and then if we want, then we would
Got it,
send them
got it.
out. Yeah,
Okay,
so I can fill that out tomorrow.
I'll make a motion, we call for a canvas list.
Second.
Okay, so Winter and Stephen Baker. All so Mike, call for a canvas list, and then we'll decide what to do. Any new business for the board members to discuss?
Nothing I haven't already discussed.
Okay. Local 916, anybody here to discuss local 916? No. Nope. Okay. Volunteers?
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm Tony Fiore, Vice President, VOFA. Anthony Lurie couldn't make it today. He had to work. So I just got a few things I had to jot down, just like late. May 18th, we had the memorial service. Thank you, everybody, for coming. That was pretty good. May 26th, we had the Bronxville Parade. A lot of members attended that. May 31st, Taco Eastchester Lions had their dinner dance. They honored Anthony Lurie and Village Clerk Susan Chimera. So he was a Man of the Year down there. So we had a table like 17 members who were there with family and wives. Okay, they honored that. We had a drill on the 3rd of June, and five members there. And we suspended our meetings for July and August. So our next meeting will be on 9/4.
9/4?
9/4, yep, 8 p.m. The door's open. Other than that, that's it. And have a nice summer. Yeah.
Quick, have you guys had any progress with your financials?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so no progress?
No progress.
It could,
Okay.
it could somehow, at some time, I have no idea, and I know nor is anybody on the board, what the financial status is of the volunteers, where I have no idea how much money you guys could have, 20 bucks in the bank, or you could have 20,000. I wouldn't have a clue. And so, or how that money is spent, or how it's collected, or how it's, anything. No, I have no idea. So, nor does anybody on this board, nor does the chief, nor there's, probably, it's just a secret. So if we could get, and we actually have a duty to ask, if we could get, regardless of how many times we ask, the financials, we really want to see them. Because the bills tonight we paid was the perma bill. And in the perma bill, it had a volunteer fee for our insurance for volunteers, which was about $18,000. So we're paying $18,000 for workman's compensation insurance for volunteers, because we're required to by law. If you have volunteers, you have to pay insurance. But we need to see the financials, because we're spending money and we have a duty. So, because that's...
Bring it up.
If you could tell whoever's the
Anthony.
keeper of those...
Who's the treasurer these days?
Dave Horn.
Who?
Dave Horn. He's
Dave?
is the Secretary Treasurer. So.
Last name's Moore, M-A-R-R?
Horn.
Horn.
Horn, David Horn. Okay.
Is he still living in Eastchester?
No. They sold the house, so.
So there's no requirement for the treasurer to live in Eastchester?
There is. Okay. Have Mr. Horn, whoever the treasurer is, or whoever you guys want to appoint for your treasurer,
Okay.
because what's going to happen is if we can't get the information, we're going to move forward to disband the volunteers, and then we can tell Permy here they don't have to insure them. And we save $20,000 or $18,000. That's going to happen. So we kind of, thanks for coming tonight, but we need the information.
Okay. No, that's why the doors are open every month, so.
Okay.
Almost somebody could have came at the meeting and told us, no? Okay.
Thanks a lot. Okay. Board member comments? Okay, would anybody in the public like to address the board before we go to payment of bills? Okay. Gentlemen have reviewed the bills? Do you find anything exceptional to be taken out? So,
Just a big telephone bill we gotta get down.
okay, so I make a motion, I'll look for a motion that we pay the bills that were submitted by the treasurer. Anybody want to make that motion?
Make a motion to pay the bill?
Yep, and second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Jerry?
Aye.
Okay. I think we're done. Now, we were going to adjourn to executive session for a few minutes, I think, just to, do you guys want to still do that?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll adjourn to executive session. It's probably not likely when it come out. So, we will probably have a meeting in the middle of July, and we'll make the announcement available on Twitter. We'll try to get it on we are available, we tweet all our meeting announcements, we have them on YouTube, these meetings. This meeting is being recorded in Bronxville. It will be transferred over at some point in time to a disc. Peter North informed me that there's some technical issues that may take an extra week to get transferred over, but it'll get transferred over to a disc, and then it'll be given to the town. The town will broadcast it, and Jerry will put it on YouTube. So it'll be available on YouTube at eastchesterfd.com, and that's where we are, and hopefully everybody has a good summer. So I would look for a motion we adjourn to executive session for personnel matters.
Make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.